This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, September 17th, 2020. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. And we've got a lot to talk about today, maybe a little while before we get to the phones. And Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble. So let's just get right on into it. Today is Constitution Day. On this day in 1787, the Constitution was signed. Trump just made a speech about that and signed a proclamation remembering the Constitution, as we all should. It is the law of the land, and I hope it can survive the coming turmoil that we're seeing on the horizon here. All right, Tropical Storm Sally has dumped up to 3 feet of torrential rain on Alabama and Florida with historic and catastrophic flooding. It's been described as 4 months of rain in 4 hours. And apparently the 105-mile-per-hour winds when it was still a hurricane knocked out power for 570,000 people. Now, over in Alabama, they've actually taken pictures of 12-foot alligators swimming through people's front yards. Okay. Glenn Beck has now come out revealing evidence of arson in the West Coast fires, and he dares big tech to throttle this. Right now, those fires have burned 5 million acres. The firefighters are still out there trying to contain that. And it's just a huge, huge mess out there. And there seems, they've already arrested people for arson out there. So we know some people are setting these fires. And we know at least a few of them are connected with Black Lives Matter and Antifa. All right, let's talk about our domestic politics here and asking the question, what if the election doesn't end on election day, which seems very, very likely? Here's what happens next. Okay, states have more than a month in which to count ballots and conduct recounts if necessary. While deadlines vary, mail-in ballots can come in until November 23rd. There's the window for the cheating. Because after the 3rd, they can see how much Trump won by, and then they can come up with phony mail-in ballots to overcome that advantage, and they have until November 23 to get them in. States then have until December 12th to certify the election results. The Electoral College meets on December 14th. So this is going to be the crookedest election in U.S. history. Donald Trump is saying that the election could be thrown into the House of Representatives. Now, he's painting this doomsday scenario of North Korea forging ballots, mass fraud, results off by 15%, and protests that'll be put down. Now, obviously, if the election is thrown into the House of Representatives, and yes, that is in the Constitution, obviously Biden would be voted in. Now, Jill Biden hits the campaign trail in New Hampshire as Joe Biden stays put in Delaware. And apparently Democrats tried to organize a car parade for Jill Biden, and only a handful of cars actually showed up. Now, Biden is trying to court the Hispanic vote and held this Hispanic heritage meeting. 6 people showed up to that. So the Trump campaign is trolling Biden after his latest stunt pandering to Latinos. Actually, Despacito is the perfect song for Biden. Breathing slowly on your neck. You remember some of those videos of Creepy Joe. Anyway, CBS was caught faking the news report on Biden's Latino event. They used a photo from Latinos for Trump event in Phoenix and identified it as Biden's Florida event. So they're still out there lying to everybody. No big surprise here. Facebook is censoring a pro-Trump ad on Biden raising taxes even after their fact check admits the claim may be true, but they stamped it mostly false anyhow. So their bias is definitely showing. More than 200 former military officers are backing Donald Trump in a letter warning that 2020 presidential candidate Joe Biden would usher in socialist and Marxist influences on American government, and he certainly would. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez believes the far left can push Vice President Biden, then to be President Biden, in a more progressive direction if Democrats win the White House. Now, Joe Biden has admitted he has a list of people he's supposed to call on for questions. It's pre-selected, and we can presume that he's being given the answers on his little teleprompter there. So Biden calls on reporters from his prepared list for names after showing up 90 minutes late for a 10-minute speech on the COVID vaccine. The latest National Rasmussen survey has Trump actually ahead for the first time. And Trump's approval rating soars to 52%. All right, there's a disturbing trend here. This is an article that came out of Zero Hedge. A recent survey of 2,000 Americans by Cato Institute, YouGov, found that 62% of Americans say the political climate these days prevents them from saying things they believe because others might find them offensive. In other words, self-censorship is up. And this is up from 2017 when 58% agreed with this statement. The majorities of Democrats, 52%, independents, 59%, and Republicans, 77%, all agree they have political opinions they are afraid to share. And of course, that plays into the hands of those who are trying to hijack the nation. You have to have the courage of your convictions. You have to have the courage to speak out, because if you don't, your silence will be interpreted as consent, even though we know it isn't. Okay, apparently last Sunday in Wilmington, Delaware, liberals threw eggs at children during a rally for President Donald Trump. I saw a photo of one of the kids who was just egg all over him, eggshell everywhere. What a mean and nasty thing to do. And then they wonder why their brand is so damaged here. Now, with this Mideast peace deal, however it's going to work out, Trump has scored a major foreign policy victory where Obama failed miserably. But the corporate media is out there trying to dismiss it, downplay it, say it's just a business deal. It's not a tremendous accomplishment. And basically, the corporate media is yawning about this. But what Trump did was very different. He dropped trying to get the Palestinians and the Israelis to sit down and talk peace, because it's never going to happen. And instead, he started trying to build peace with the other Arab nations. And apparently there are other Arab nations getting ready to sign on to the agreement as well. All righty, Lindsey Graham is saying that Comey will testify on September 30th, but he's not going to subpoena Mueller, and it looks like McCabe and Strzok will walk. So Lindsey Graham lied, and he's a fraud. Nothing's going to happen. Now, over on the Senate Intelligence Committee, they're starting to issue subpoenas for the Russiagate, Obamagate, so they may make some more progress. And the wet work is definitely starting. A Republican campaign aide was murdered in Minneapolis. A staffer for Lacey Johnson, who's running against Ilhan Omar, was shot dead in a drive-by shooting. On Monday, 2 of the aides were shot standing outside a convenience store when one or more shooters opened fire. It was a drive-by shooting. The 17-year-old staffer later died at the hospital. All righty. When it's finally tallied up, it's estimated that the widespread vandalism and looting during the Black Lives Matter protests will cost the insurance industry $2 billion after violence erupted in 140 cities in the wake of George Floyd's death. And interestingly enough, this is the worst damage caused by rioting in the nation's history. Speaking of George Floyd, apparently a new video has been released showing him trying to get rid of a small bag of white powder and the police finding a crack pipe on his person during the run-up to the shooting arrest. Okay, a military whistleblower says federal officials sought some unusual crowd control devices, including one that's been called a heat ray, to deal with protesters outside the White House on the June day that law enforcement forcibly cleared Lafayette Park. We've talked about this one before. It's basically a microwave oven on a stand, and it heats the water inside your skin. It makes your skin feel like it's on fire. And it's interesting that they are starting to use this and deploy this for crowd control. All righty. Donald Trump has revealed a White House staff member has tested positive for coronavirus, but aides say the person didn't go to the deal signing attended by Middle East leaders and hundreds of guests. Okay. Continuing on with the coronavirus news, Donald Trump contradicts his own CDC boss, calls him confused and mistaken for saying under oath that masks work better than vaccines and that vaccines will not be available to all within weeks. Okay. Now, somebody has put out this suggestion. This came out of Daily Mail in Great Britain. Could washing your nose with iodine protect you from COVID-19? Swabbing the virus with the antiseptic for 15 seconds completely killed it in a lab study. Another little interesting aspect is apparently eyeglasses may lower the COVID-19 risks. Study finds that people who wear eyeglasses are 5 times less likely to be diagnosed with coronavirus than the general public. Well, because the virus can enter your body through the eyes as well as through the nose and the mouth. Get out those old eyeglasses. All righty. Emails reveal Nashville mayor's office colluded with Metro Health to hide the actual COVID numbers from citizens and business owners because they were so low. And it looks like there's going to be a lawsuit, and Trump is already saying some of these people should be in jail. But the Nashville mayor's office colluded with the Nashville Health Department to hide the numbers because the numbers were so low, to hide it from the citizens. Okay. All right, Florida protesters sporting Make America Great Again t-shirts and hats defy the COVID rules and march maskless through a Target store singing, "We're not going to take it," shouting, "Take off your mask." Now, at this point, I mean, given what the CDC was saying about the size of the virus and the size of the weave, even in the N95 masks, they're really not doing that good. And if you wear eyeglasses and you put one of those masks on, when you exhale, you'll see your glasses fog. Well, what's fogging your glasses? Your exhaled breath, carrying with it droplets of moisture and potentially virus particles. So they're really not that effective anyway. It's just forcing compliance and the government trying to look like they're doing something even when they're not able to do anything about it at all. Over in North Carolina, residents were accidentally told they had positive coronavirus tests. More than 6,700 individuals in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, were sent a text message from the health department on last Friday, that they tested positive for COVID-19, and over 500 people were told through a county email that they were also infected with the novel coronavirus. But the results were incorrect due to a technical error by HealthSpace, the company they used for contact tracing. Can you imagine getting one of those? People are still talking about what's going on down in Australia, and it's being described as from blue shirts to brown. On Saturday, the 5th of September, a national day of protest occurred in cities around Australia against the unnecessary and draconian lockdowns that have been occurring across the country and which are still occurring in Victoria. Similar protests have occurred in cities around the world, most especially in Europe. The protests are a legitimate and rational response to despotic and often unconstitutional laws that unscientifically characterize every member of society as a biosecurity risk to everyone else. They are also a protest against law enforcement bureaucracies that identify responsible, civic-minded citizens as criminals if they dare to question such laws, or even worse, step out of their homes in defiance of the lockdown to register their dissent. Now, there's another article on this same topic. This is out of womensystems.com. Chairman Dan's Great Wall of Misery, checkpoints, number plate technology, and police station in holiday towns will ensure Melburnians don't escape their city prison as the lockdown lasts longer than Wuhan's. Daniel Andrews has set up a so-called ring of steel around Melbourne to stop residents heading to regional Victoria, where coronavirus restrictions are finally being relaxed. Comedian Chris Rock is ripping the Democratic Party over COVID, saying you let the pandemic come in by focusing on impeachment. We're too fixated on impeaching Donald Trump, and they weren't paying attention. Remember, for all the talk about Donald Trump trying to downplay COVID-19 and keep people calm, back when it was first starting, the Democrats were saying exactly the same thing. Biden was saying exactly the same thing. Okay? Now, there's another interesting article, this one coming out of Zero Hedge. The United States image has tumbled to a record low among a new 13-nation Pew Research Center poll released Tuesday. America's reputation, nevertheless, confidence in the Trump administration have both rapidly declined over the past year due to the handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Well, that may be what they were looking to see, but I think America's image has been harmed by other things besides COVID-19, such as invading all these different countries, sanctioning everybody who won't conform their economies to support American corporations. Getting on to the international news here, Russia is accusing the U.S. of promoting revolution in Belarus. Russia yesterday accused Washington of trying to foment a revolution in Belarus, where it sent its defense minister for talks on military ties, a sign that Moscow's support for Belarusian leader Lukashenko is hardening. Russia's foreign spy chief says the U.S. is stage managing the Belarus unrest. And just after Moscow announced Tuesday that Russian force reserve units would be withdrawn from the Lithuanian border, top Russian officials have slammed NATO flexing its muscle during the ongoing Tobruk Legacy 2020 drills in Lithuania. A top official, Alexander Kanshin, who heads the Association of Unions of Reserves Officers, said that while alarming, it is not expected that NATO will take any real military action against Belarus. But it was the director of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Naryshkin, who issued the most directly provocative comments Thursday. The powerful intelligence chief charged that the United States is stage managing the unrest in Belarus, which has since the August 9th re-election of President Lukashenko sought to topple him. Lukashenko, meanwhile, is fingering a Soros-backed color revolution plot against the Belarusian state. And he says, now we can look back and analyze in detail all the stages of the scenario for the destruction of our country, which fortunately we did not allow to be realized and will not allow, Lukashenko said in a meeting with the political activists of the Republic on Wednesday. Meanwhile, people are looking at what's going on between Greece versus Turkey and wondering, is it possible we could have a war inside of NATO? And I would say that yes, it's definitely possible. Saturday, U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo was forced to fly to Nicosia to discuss the situation in the Mediterranean Sea. The visit took place 2 weeks after the telephone talks between the presidents of the United States, Turkey, and the Greek prime minister. Donald Trump was unable to effectively resolve the Turkish-Greek controversy. During the talks, Mitsotakis complained about destabilizing actions of Turkey, threatening peace and stability in the region, as well as testing NATO cohesion. In response, Erdogan claimed the readiness to conduct a dialogue to resolve contradiction. As a result, Ankara sent another geological reconnaissance ship to the Mediterranean Sea and exacerbated the already tense situation. Well, it turns out Chinese and Indian troops exchanged gunfire last week. It was announced yesterday. The incident occurred just days before the foreign ministers from both countries met in Moscow to discuss tensions over the vague line of actual control, the disputed border in the Western Himalayas. There have been 3 incidents of gunfire, mostly warning shots, since late August with no reported casualties. Since the 2 countries have had a long-standing agreement not to use firearms in the area, these incidents mark the first time in 45 years that India and China exchanged shots at the borders. Military sources told the South China Morning Post that Chinese border troops increased their combat readiness to the second highest level after last week's gunfire. The alert was lowered after the foreign ministers met last week and agreed to reduce tensions. All right, China and India in major Himalayan border troop buildup expected to extend into winter. So after a summer of high-level military-to-military talks appeared to have unraveled, although they've prevented another major border breach like the June 15 hand-to-hand combat clash, multiple reports confirm a new buildup of thousands of Indian and Chinese troops on either side of the Ladakh region. Thousands of Indian and Chinese troops are still locked in an impasse across the mountain passes of the Himalayan region of Ladakh and the banks of the glacier lake Pangong Tso, with neither side backing down, despite their foreign ministers having agreed 5 days ago to improve mutual trust and de-escalate tensions. And here's where it gets really serious. A Pakistani minister has threatened India with a nuclear attack in the bloody last war and says only Muslims will survive. Sheikh Rashid made the threat of a nuclear war, claiming that Pakistan has very precise weapons which are small and perfect and are able to target specific regions. Okay, according to Britain's Chief of Defense Intelligence, the Chinese regime poses the greatest threat to world order. This stands in stark contrast to comments coming from China that the United States is the greatest threat to world order. Lieutenant General Jim Hockenhull, speaking for the first media briefing at the UK's Defense Intelligence Hub based at the Royal Air Force Base in Whiting, Cambridgeshire, discussed how global players such as Russia and China continually challenge the existing order without prompting direct conflict, operating the expanding gray zone between war and peacetime. Notice how he wants to defend the existing order, which has the West up on top. While Hawk and Hull saw Russia as posing the greatest military and geopolitical threat to European security, he reserved the starkest warning for China's communist regime. We got to take a break for commercial, and we'll be back after these few words.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
Welcome back to our show here, and a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is in the middle of a perpetual fundraiser. We don't have any billionaire philanthropists paying the bills for us, and we have a lot of bills. There's, hosting costs, electricity, rent on the office, all of that stuff. Plus, we have to upgrade and improve our equipment in order to keep it keep on the air. It wears out rather fast when you consider the workload that we put it on. All these hours every day, all these days every week, and so forth. And first of all, a heartfelt thanks to everybody who has donated. And I understand some donations have come in. So thanks to all of you who did. And to those of you who did not, we know who you are. The postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you, and I thank you. We really do appreciate it. Okay, getting on back to the international news, the U.S. is pushing an unprecedented 7 major weapons system sales to Taiwan at once. And this is just another way of needling China. China, of course, is saying this is violation of the One China policy. But the U.S. is planning to sell as many as 7 major weapon systems, including mines, cruise missiles, and drones to Taiwan. All righty. Article that is out of responsiblestatecraft.org. When it comes to Iran, how many failures is enough for Pompeo? For many years, Secretary of State Pompeo has worked to bring Iran to heel, if not to destroy the Islamic Republic altogether. He would presumably prefer to accomplish those ends through economic and political warfare, but it is unlikely he would object to military attacks if that's what it takes. As a congressman from Kansas as early as 2014, he was urging Washington to attack Tehran's nuclear facilities, noting it would take under 2,000 sorties or bombings to do the job. That's not an insurmountable task for the coalition forces, he said. I remember when John McCain was out there dancing around and going, bomb, 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 Iran, bomb, 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 bomb. And he thought that was funny. He really thought that was funny. Can you imagine what would happen to not just Iran, but the neighboring countries if those nuclear facilities were bombed? It would be another Chernobyl. But apparently, that's small price to pay to get those gosh darn Iranians here. Now, Trump says he is willing to sell other Gulf countries the same advanced weapons given to Israel. And this was in an interview ahead of the signing ceremony for the normalization agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Trump said he would be willing to sell other countries in the Middle East the same advanced weapons the U.S. sells to Israel. Trump told Fox News they're very wealthy countries for the most part. Trump also mentioned the UAE's desire for U.S.-made F-35s and said he would personally not have a problem with the UAE acquiring the warplanes. Now, Israel, of course, is very upset about that and is already out there demanding that the U.S. not sell these advanced weapons to the other countries in the Middle East, even the ones that it supposedly has just normalized relations with. Well, Israel has finally realized it can't veto the sale. So instead, what it's demanding is $8 billion in warplanes to give them a qualitative edge over the other countries in the region. Now, the way Israel envisions this going down, they'll get some $8 billion in equipment, which you will pay for, mostly advanced U.S.-made aircraft. This would include an entire squadron of F-35s, the very plane that was supposedly the cause of all this. Now, while Israel was previously objecting to the sales to the UAE as threatening their military edge, officials are now revising it based on the reality they're not going to get their way on blocking the sale from happening. All right, the Trump administration has forced the Qatari news network Al Jazeera to register as a foreign agent. Now, earlier this year, the Trump administration forced Chinese state media outlets operating in the U.S. to register as foreign agents. Twitter and other social media companies followed suit by labeling accounts linked to Chinese and Russian state-funded media companies with tags warning for state-affiliated media. Pretty soon, Jack Dorsey might be slapping a similar label on accounts associated with Al Jazeera after the Trump administration branded the popular media company, which publishes in English and Arabic, as a foreign agent. But note that AIPAC is still not required to register as a foreign agent. Okay, getting over to the military side, the U.S. Air Force used a hypervelocity projectile, or HVP, capable of traveling Mach 7.3, fired from an Army M109 howitzer tank to shoot down a fast-moving cruise missile over a missile range in New Mexico. This is a hypersonic smart bullet. Now, tanks shooting down cruise missiles is awesome. He's saying it's like a video game in science fiction. You're not supposed to be able to shoot down a cruise missile with a tank, but now, yes, you can if the bullet is smart enough, and the bullet we use for the system is exceptionally smart. Over in the Air Force, 98 airmen have died by suicide so far in 2020, and The new tally confirms comment around made 3 weeks earlier about how the Air Force is going to have to be as bad as 2019 in terms of suicide loss. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsor.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago when warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxysilver through healthyworldstore.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. John Hess, 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome. Probably my only review, but at age 40, I was getting bad heartthrob and left arm pain, mainly before bed. I even stopped smoking and drinking sodas for a month, and that didn't work. After one day of taking Extendovite, it was gone and hasn't returned in 3 years. I've ordered Extendovite 13 times, so Amazon just said. Juliet Hordick. I've ordered this product before in liquid form. It is fantastic. My whole family's been on it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to talk about the economy here a little bit before we start taking phone calls. And apparently Hong Kong is formally demanding the U.S. drop the Made in China labeling regulations. And they're going to take this to the World Trade Organization and try and get it off there. Now, I don't know. These days, Made in China is not a bad thing. I remember when it meant, cheap, shoddy workmanship. But China makes some really good stuff. If you're willing to say, make us really good stuff, China will give you what the importers want to import. And if the importers want to import cheap crud, that's what they're going to get. But China makes things like the iPhone and the iPad, They seem to do very well here. All right, we got a caller on the line already. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. David in Boston. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, aloha, Michael. Michael, Sloppy Joe Biden, he outdid himself at a press conference. Have you heard about his latest verbal gaffe?
Which one?
Well, evidently, this is his latest one, Michael. You're not going to believe this. This is a classic. He was talking about different things, but then he brought up the Clinton presidency, President Bill Clinton and Hillary, and everything. And you know how Hillary is first lady. She was often called the first co-president.
Yes.
Hillary was Bill's co-president. She was more than just the first lady. She was co-president along with Bill and everything. But Michael, can you believe this? That Sloppy Joe was talking about that, and he was talking about Bill Clinton and everything, and then he referred to Hillary Clinton as Bill Clinton's comorbidity.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't that unbelievable to refer to Hillary Clinton as Bill Clinton's comorbidity instead of co-president?
That is a very odd statement for him to make. I wonder what he intended to say.
Well, I think he intended to say co-president, and it came out Bill Clinton's comorbidity. When I think he meant to say Hillary was Bill Clinton's. She was co-president. It had to do with his selection of Kamala Harris and a woman possibly becoming the first president and all this business.
Yes.
So, isn't that pretty wild?
That's pretty wild out there. But I mean, I can understand why Joe is staying home and sending his wife out to campaign for him.
So anyways, but so anyways, Michael, some people say, how people say, well, I wouldn't lie to you. Well, Michael, I would never lie to you, and I would never tell you the truth either,
Okay.
So anyways, Michael, that's just a little humor out of my figment of my imagination. But, he would make a gaffe like that. He would refer to Hillary as President Bill Clinton's comorbidity. And if he won't refer to Hillary Clinton as Bill Clinton's comorbidity, I will.
Okay, I can understand why you would say that.
Yeah. So
when Bill Clinton was not in the Oval Office, Hillary would sit in there doing her work.
Yeah. What did how about that one? The reason Bill used to like to sexually assault a woman in the Oval Office. That was his preferred place for these rapes and sexual assaults and everything, because he knew that the woman wouldn't be able to hide in the corner.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, because you corner an animal, you corner a woman, they might come out fighting and scratching like a panther or something.
Yeah, but isn't it hard? Isn't it hard to chase him down in a room without any corners?
Well, Clinton was pretty good at cutting corners.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, Mike, I'll start the show off, I guess, with a little humor. I don't, all the serious. I'm telling you, man, all the serious stuff you were talking about.
Hello, David.
Really, huh?
Okay, seems like we lost David, so let's switch.
Oh, really? Mike?
They're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. It makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. I must admit lately I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas. Yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just what I please. We will not go down.
Okay, here we go. We're back again. like I said, okay, I'm getting my voice back. And could you relist the callers that we? And it just went down again. Okay, let's try this again. And we're back. All righty. Any chance we could get our callers relisted? And I'm still hearing my own. Oh, nope. Looks like I got a short show today. Okay, let's see how long it takes. Don't try to re-enter Verto. Okay, you're on air. Good. All right. Can we have our callers relisted again? Because when I went back into Verto, I lost them. Okay, Joe in Tennessee. Joe, are you there?
Me, Mike. Hey, do you
Hey,
hear me,
there
Mike?
you are. Yeah, we had a little
Hey.
gremlin there.
Yeah, I had to call you on my cell phone yesterday. My regular phone wouldn't go through, but that happens to me once in a while. I think I'm being
Yes.
monitored. I've been talking too much
We're all
about the
being
FBI
monitored.
lately. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to say to all your other listeners, I donated to RBN and whatreallyhappened.com, and it's a relatively painless process, you know. So if you have your credit cards handy, it really is an incredible thing to have the ability to have your voice be heard, and it's something that the powers that be definitely want to put an end to. So if everybody can, you know, if you have a little extra money, you know, it will really help. And like I said, if we lose RBN and this ability, that really the whole country is going to be soon after. Really is. I really firmly believe that this is one of the last bastions of real free speech out there. Everything else is try getting a hold of anybody else and speaking your mind. Even Facebook. I mean, I've been thrown off Facebook. I've been thrown off. You know, Yahoo Sheriff would, you know, censor me, and I mean, I might
Well, look
push
how
the
Fox
envelope a
News
little
shut
bit.
down Newt Gingrich yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's what I was calling about. I mean, I got to tell you, if to watch that lady, Harrison Faulkner or whatever, to watch her face, like you could tell she was hearing a whole lot from like the control room, like shut him up, and she was like, her eyes were bugged out. It was an incredible thing to watch, and you're not talking about just any schmo. I mean, Newt Gingrich was, you know, Speaker of the House. They have him on all the time, and they basically told him, you know, what was it? What were the exact words? You can't bring up George. Let's not bring up George Soros. And Gingrich is like, why not? He's the guy that's funding Antifa. Oh, so it just shows like what the amount of power that these Jews and their Antifa allies and stuff have in the media, let alone the FBI. You know, Ray was on, once being back to the FBI, but Ray was at a congressional hearing, and he said basically the biggest threat to the United States is the self-radicalized internet loner. He didn't say anything about left or right, but he didn't bring up the biggest threat, like maybe could be the people that are like burning down the half the state of Oregon and Washington. And no, that's not the biggest threat. It's some guy going and reading things on the internet that aren't coming from the establishment or the Jew-controlled media. So that's the biggest threat to the FBI director. And in a way, he's right. He's actually being honest with us, because there is no threat to the FBI director or the FBI from the ADL-trained Antifa terrorists that are out there. But
Yes.
you know, not to him and not to his establishment, which he protects, and his Jewish friends that he protects. No, the biggest threat, he's right, the biggest threat is the so-called radicalized internet loner, because he's going to get his information from other sources. He's going to see how the FBI is in bed and controls Antifa. So he's being honest. Now, to you and me, the biggest threat are the Antifa people because people are dying. They're burning down cities. They're burning down, lighting fires, wildfires. They're killing a lot of people, destroying all kinds of property. That is a threat to a patriotic, somewhat loner, radicalized American patriot. That's the threat to us. But to Ray, no, his threat is the guy that's like finding alternate sources of information and might be saying, oh my God, the FBI is controlled by the ADL, and so is Antifa. And then look at Fox News. Oh my God, they even cut off Newt Gingrich because he started bringing that up. So it's amazing how much power Antifa and George Soros has in this country. It really is. Even with, you think there's hope because you elect a populist president and, but to see this like so out in the open, it's scary and amazing at the same time.
That's a good thing to see it out in the open like that, because, that kind of power only works if nobody knows it's being applied. But if everybody sees what's happening, that's the first step to bringing it all crashing down.
Oh, no, and I'm applauding it. That's why I'm bringing up to watch that if you get a chance on YouTube. I'm sure you have, but anybody in your audience, if you haven't seen it, it's an amazing, and I don't really know who the lady was that was in the interview. I have to look back and get more of it, because there was a lady off camera that was saying, oh, don't go there, don't talk about that. And then the black lady was kind of caught in the middle, and then she's hearing from her earpiece also. So it really shows. You can't beat that. I mean, it was just a wonderful thing. But I've been monopolizing your time. So once again, if anybody can donate to RBN, just to be able to have one bastion of free speech, it's really a wonderful thing to do. And I'll let you go, Mike. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe, for the phone call. Thank you for the nice words and the plug for the fundraising drive here. We're going to switch over to Dan in Texas. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hello, Mike. Just curious, I heard on another program earlier today that they're having a freedom rally against the lockdowns in Austin on Saturday, October 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
But then I hop on the internet and I can't find any information on it, and was just curious if y'all knew of anything.
No, I'm not familiar with it, but maybe somebody will call on in with like a website or some other organizing entity that we can share with our listeners.
All right. If they could find out and, keep reminding us of it, I certainly intend to be there. So, all right. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Dan. We're going to let you go and switch to Tom in Utah. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Mike. Hey, I almost tossed my radio out the window. Our local Department of Health director just informed me, after 40 years of my experience, I didn't know how I didn't pick up on that. She said that the incubation period of the COVID can be as much as 5 to 7 weeks. So that implies that we need to have a quarantine period of not 2 weeks, but 2 months. I said, wow, with all my years of experience in pathology, I didn't realize that was the required incubation time. So what they're trying to do is to make it so they can lock us down even more. Instead of being 2 weeks as incubation, in fact, she's indicating by her very medically astute, understanding that it takes 5 to 7 weeks. And I'm sitting in here and I said, what the hell are you talking about, woman? It is pathetic. These political scientists drive me crazy.
Yes.
There's so much bull crap.
Yeah, scientism or Scientology. That was what that word originally meant, was a fascination with science without being a scientist.
Well, anyway, just be aware if you're coming to Utah, you might have to quarantine for 2 months before you can go out.
Well, Utah's a beautiful state, and I've been there, but I'm not planning on coming back anytime soon.
Anyway, just wanted to let you know that in Utah, the quarantine will be probably pushed to 2 months instead of 2 weeks. Anyway, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I can
You
understand
don't know
why.
how painful it. You don't know how painful it is to know the facts, and to be able to, survive the bull crap that is being fed to the entire world. They think that viruses fly, they can jump, they can live forever out in the environment. It's all a load of crap.
Mm-hmm.
All of it's crap. Anyway, we have these pseudo physicians, these pseudo scientists. They get on the screen or get on the TV and they talk with such authority, but it's absolute bull crap. Absolute bull crap. And an old guy like me that knows the facts, my best friend is the microscope. I tell people, the microscope never lies.
Yes.
The technician behind it, he does. And he's doing it to satisfy his grant provider. That's the sad thing in science. So much of the stuff that's published is Blovia. They want to make
That's
it
the
so.
golden rule in science. Whoever has the gold makes the science. Anyway, listen, Tom, we're going to have to let you go here. We got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cachingproperty.com. That's cachingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company, and it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks?
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model EZ4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my EaseOff?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new EZ4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri. 417-932-6419.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Fine.
The fake news network, that's what I call Fox. I've been calling that for years. I saw the clipping. I don't watch Fox News, but I saw the clipping earlier, and Alex Jones. He was playing, I think David Knight was playing here. No, one of the InfoWars people was playing it. It doesn't surprise me at all. These people are they're part of the mainstream media, the corporate media. Okay, they're sponsored largely by Big Pharma. They're total, complete fake news. In some ways, they're worse than the other two. Okay, because the other two, you know where they're coming from, but the Fox will try to give you a different fair and balanced nonsense. You know, fact of the matter is, these people, the only thing they're fair and balanced to are their billionaire sponsors and their corporate sponsors.
Yes.
That keeps it going. Okay? That's the only thing they're fair and balanced for. And we had earlier, I seen another thing about, that guy, Brian Kilmeade, one of the most vicious, disgusting, warmongering neocons on any channel. When he got Trump to say something about that he was close to ordering a hit on President Assad there of Syria.
Yeah.
And you see how gleeful. Again, I don't watch, but I was watching the clippings on another show. As a matter of fact, We Are Change showed it. You can see the glee on this murdering scum space there, Kilmeade, murder scum. Well, he was never in the military himself, Kilmeade. He's just a, I think he was a sports reporter before he actually became a so-called news reporter. And that's why I say so-called. So don't kid yourself, folks. You think you're getting anything out of Fox but a bunch of lies. And that includes Hannity, by the way, a big Russia hater,
yes.
Putin hater. This guy's, he gives you also, all right, he'll say Trump wasn't, helped by the Russians, but the Russians really helped the Democrats or some other nonsense like that. Russians had nothing to do with the last election or any of our elections, as far as I know. And Hannity is, a warmonger. He never saw a war. He never, he had a war he didn't support. He was very much in support of the illegal invasion of Iraq. And the only good one they have there, and I do listen to him, not on Fox News, because I don't want to give him the credit of watching. I do get Fox Now on one of my on Sling TV, but I don't watch it though. But I do get it on YouTube sometimes, and I get Tucker Carlson, and I'll watch him a little bit because he's the only one, not only on Fox on the fake news network, but any of the fake news media that will give you some kind of a truth. He's about as close to being really independent media as you're going to find. And I really wonder how long the fake news network is going to keep him on there.
Well, we don't know. I mean, he's gone into a lot of areas they'd rather he did not. He must have a really good contract. Anyway, Mark, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification, and we'll be right back after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero? The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Getting back to the economic news here, Yelp data is showing that 60% of business closures due to COVID-19 are permanent. They will not be coming back. And Claire and I were driving around this morning and looking at all the retail closures that we're seeing just even around Santa Claus. And it's a little scary out there here. Now, according to Chuck Grassley, the second stimulus check is unlikely to arrive before the election. And I'm sure the Democrats are trying to stall that from happening, because that would make Trump look even better to the voters to get another stimulus check. But Senator Chuck Grassley said the chances of a new stimulus deal being signed before the November 3rd general election are remote. And he's saying Democrats are to blame for the stalemate. All righty. Now, Boeing is once again in trouble. Apparently, the Congress has found that Boeing put profits before people's lives by hiding known 737 MAX design flaws. Okay, now 18 months after Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 plummeted out of the sky just minutes after takeoff, congressional investigators have finally released a comprehensive report outlining the many mistakes made by both Boeing and the FAA during the certification process. In the months that have passed, investigators have kept the pressure on Boeing and its share price with a steady stream of leaks. We've already seen emails showing Boeing engineers criticizing the 737 MAX 8 design time in some of the harshest terms imaginable. At one point, one irate engineer complained the plane was designed by clowns who were supervised by monkeys. Facebook is now plunging on a report that the Federal Trade Commission is preparing possible antitrust lawsuit by the end of the year. And it's been a rough time for Facebook. First, the world's biggest social network was dumped by Kim Kardashian, who called on her tens of millions of followers to boycott Mark Zuckerberg's cash cow. And now the Wall Street Journal reports that the FTX is preparing to file a possible antitrust suit against the company. FTC, actually, was a typo, sending its stock plunging after hours and dragging the NASDAQ lower. All right, there's been a World Trade Organization ruling on Trump's tariffs, which China says proves U.S. broke international law. Beijing said the World Trade Organization's ruling against the Trump administration serves as proof that the U.S. violated international trade practices by imposing tariffs on Chinese goods. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wanbin lauded the WTO ruling as objective and fair. U.S. politicians have repeatedly slandered China for failing to follow the rules, but the ruling has proven it is the United States that really violates international regulations. Germany is offering the United States a €1 billion liquefied natural gas investment deal in exchange for lifting sanctions from the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Germany wants that Russian gas, and they're willing to bribe the United States to get it. So Berlin has offered to invest €1 billion in U.S. liquefied natural gas if Washington lifts sanctions against the Russia-led Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project. According to the paper's sources, Berlin is ready to invest in the construction of 2 terminals in Germany to receive American LNG. In response, the U.S. will allow the unhindered completion and operation of Nord Stream 2. Over in Virginia, massive lines have formed outside Virginia food banks as demand hits 1 million meals per month. The economic recovery has stalled and in some cases reversed. The $600 unemployment benefits that Americans received following the pandemic that crashed the economy in March, April expired on July 31st, which means a fiscal cliff has been underway for 44 days. Millions of people are still out of work. Their emergency savings wiped out. They're pulling cash out of their homes with new mortgages, maxing out their credit cards. The insurmountable debts are increasing. As former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen warned in August, Congress' inability to pass another round of stimulus checks could weigh on the economic recovery. Readers may recall about a quarter of all personal income is derived from the government. So when a lapse in stimulus checks extends for well over 1 month, it could lead to new consumer stress. Saudi Aramco retakes the crown from Apple as the world's most valuable company. And that's despite the fact that oil demand doesn't seem to be rising right now. And there are even prognostications that oil may fall down to $25 a barrel because of that. Oracle has won the bid to buy TikTok's U.S. operation after the Chinese app rejected Microsoft. On the other hand, Trump is expressing concern that the Oracle bid falls short of addressing his national security concerns. But he's saying he is still willing to sign off on the TikTok deal for Oracle as long as the U.S. government gets a chunk of the money. Little piece of the action going on here. So the Trump administration will review the proposal for TikTok partnership with Oracle that includes a U.S. headquarters and 20,000 new jobs a week before the deadline to ban the Chinese-owned app if it is not sold. I noticed they were doing some corporate image spots on TV last night. All right, Hungary is now striking back against the EU open borders propaganda. We're now in the immigration portion of our talking points here. The Hungarian government has rejected new calls for open borders, insisting on the right of sovereign states to control their borders. Government spokesman Zoltán Kovács responded sharply to a Bloomberg op-ed by Andreas Kluth Tuesday, which called Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban a saboteur of European Union immigration reform, who'd failed to open his nation's borders to waves of immigrants in 2015. Perhaps journalism like this is to blame for the tragedy at the Moria camp. Mr. Kovács responded on Twitter, reporting that it's wrong to require migrants to request asylum in first safe state, claiming PM Orban blocked refugees, pushing the open borders position as if it's a human right, and it is not. Now, the Ninth Circuit Court has allowed Donald Trump's administration to remove the protected status of hundreds of thousands of migrants. Migrants fought back against Trump admin decision. The decision, which reversed one from a lower court, allowed the Trump administration to phase out the temporary protected status of migrants from El Salvador, Sudan, Haiti, and Nicaragua. As Circuit Judge Consuelo Callahan explained, the TPS program provides temporary relief to nationals of designated foreign countries that have been stricken by a natural disaster, armed conflict, or other extraordinary and temporary conditions in the foreign state. Now, hard on the heels of that, the Ninth Circuit affirmed a decision by a lower federal court in San Francisco that upheld a school district's ban on the wearing of American flag shirts on a California high school campus in 2010 during Cinco de Mayo, which is a Mexican holiday. AFL-C co-founder and senior counsel Robert Muse, who argued the case before the Ninth Circuit, commented, "It is truly a sad day when government officials are permitted to ban the American flag on a public high school campus for any reason. Here, school officials feared that our clients would offend Mexican students if they wore their flag shirts to school on Cinco de Mayo. So they ordered the students to either remove the shirts or leave the school in direct violation of their First Amendment rights." Okay, miscellaneous news here. Over and over and over again, history has vindicated Edward Snowden. An appeals court recently ruled a mass surveillance program exposed by Snowden was illegal. It's only the latest example of Washington admitting Snowden had, despite being denounced by pundits and politicians, done the right thing by leaking information about the government's massive surveillance operations against ordinary American citizens. A little bit of good news. The 24-year-old deputy shot in Compton last week has been released from the hospital. And they did not provide an update on the second deputy. A 31-year-old female deputy and mother of 6-year-old was also shot in the ambush. But the female deputy is expected to survive, authorities said. Police are still searching for the gunman responsible for the shooting, and Sheriff Alex Villanueva said they have promising leads. I hope they find the guy. I really do. I really do. There's been another incident of a race faker at the university system. A University of Wisconsin-Madison graduate student has resigned from a teaching role after admitting to lying about being black. Anyway, remember the Parkland shooting? And there was this police officer who took cover behind his truck and then drove away during the shooting. He has been reinstated with all of his back pay. The second cop to get his job back in recent months. Okay, the Vatican Academy tweets an image of the Virgin Mary holding a black Jesus. The Pontifical Academy of Life has tweeted out a photoshopped version of Michelangelo's statue of the Pieta, making the body of Jesus black. In its tweet, the Pontifical Academy, headed by Archbishop Vincenzo Paglia, calls the photo an image that is worth a speech. Yeah, I think he's right, but maybe not in the way that he thinks it is. And by the way, I saw a photo of the photoshopped image, and Jesus is like really black. I mean, jet black. And I think that's going to upset a lot of people. Now, we know that Jesus, the historical character on which Jesus is based, wasn't white either. He looked like the present day Palestinians. But still, this is pandering on a very, very base level, I think. Apparently over in Iceland, the Church of Iceland, which is known for its liberal stance, it allows the ordination of women and blessing same-sex marriages, yet its membership has shrunk from 90% of the population to 65% within the last several decades. Now, a new advertisement from the National Church of Iceland welcoming children to Sunday school has stirred up a controversy as it features a large-breasted Jesus wearing makeup and dancing under a rainbow. Church Director of Communications Peter George Markin explained that this is a way of celebrating diversity, adding that the church believes it is positive and natural for Jesus to appeal to people in all possible forms. He stressed the church is trying to embrace society as it is. No, they're just trying to get more people to toss money in those collection plates here. Breonna Taylor's family will receive a $12 million settlement with the city of Louisville after she was shot and killed by police. The settlement also includes a series of police reforms, including that police commanders must approve all search warrants in advance. Taylor was killed back in March when Louisville police burst into her apartment using a so-called no-knock arrest warrant. The settlement is in response to a wrongful death lawsuit that Taylor's family filed against the city and its police department in April. The financial payment is expected to be the largest amount the city has ever paid in relation to a police misconduct lawsuit. Over in Great Britain, Trump's war on journalism takes center stage at Julian Assange's extradition hearing. Now, Trump's war on journalism tends to be focused on the corporate media. And I don't know why he would have a war on the independent media, because it was the independent media that helped him get elected back in 2016. And we worked really, really hard to do that. And it's been a disappointment that he's kind of turned his back on us. Anyway, in the last half century, journalists James Bamford, Ben Bradley, Seymour Hersh, and Neil Sheehan were each threatened with prosecution under the Espionage Act, but the U.S. government never followed through with charges against a journalist until 2019, when WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was arrested and charged. Now, the way the Espionage Act is written, if somebody merely leaks information to a journalist, that can be published. Only if the journalist solicits classified information is it a violation of the Espionage Act. Trevor Timm, the executive director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation, told a magistrate court judge Trump's administration is moving to explicitly criminalize national security journalism. And if this prosecution is allowed to go forward, dozens of reporters at the New York Times, Washington Post, and elsewhere would also be in great danger. Remember when Nixon tried to shut down the New York Times and the Washington Post over the Pentagon Papers? We have a Supreme Court decision on that, saying that the press was created to serve the governed, not the governors. Anyway, Snowden is warning that an Assange extradition will lead free press to slaughterhouses, publishers, critics blinded by partisanship. The U.S. drive to extradite and prosecute Assange poses a grave threat to journalists everywhere, but the publisher's opponents have placed politics over principle and even their own interests, said Snowden. I think a lot of it comes down to people forgetting what principles are and why they're important, Snowden said in an interview with Joe Rogan on Tuesday. You can hate Julian Assange, you can think he's a puppet of Russia, you can think he's the worst person on earth, a reincarnation of Hitler or Stalin, and still you realize that convicting him harms you. It harms your society, it harms your children's future. People forget about this in today's world where everything has become partisan. J.K. Rowling, creator of the Harry Potter franchise, is accused of transphobia again and declared dead by a Twitter mob because the villain in her latest book is a cross-dressing serial killer. It's a male serial killer who dresses as a woman in order to commit his murders. Her murders. Its murders. Whatever it's going to be. All righty. Over in Germany, they had a test of their nationwide emergency warning system, and it flops. It flopped dramatically. People around Germany waited for sirens to sound at 11 a.m. a week ago when the country was supposed to conduct its first nationwide test since 1990 of the emergency warning system. But in many towns and cities, including Kaiserslautern, which is home to one of the largest overseas American military communities, they were met with silence. And anyone else not get any sirens or warnings? K-Town obviously didn't play today. Elaine Ebert wrote in a Facebook group for military spouses in the area. There's a little bit of a whoopsie here. Bayer AG has settled thousands of U.S. Roundup weed killer lawsuits as part of an $11 billion settlement, reaching deals with the only lawyers who took cases to trial over allegations of the herbicide caused cancer. In letters filed with the U.S. District Court in San Francisco on Monday, 3 lawyers said they had reached binding settlements. The agreements covered 15,000 lawsuits, according to attorneys familiar with the talks. Bayer has estimated it faces 125,000 filed and unfiled claims over Roundup. And still they sell that stuff in the stores. They're still advertising it on TV. Amazing. You know, so you see all these commercials for the ambulance chasing law firms. You know, did you take this drug and did you develop this serious complication? You may be entitled to a financial settlement, and yet they're still advertising and selling the product. As long as the court costs are less than the profits, they're going to go on doing it. Okay, the suicide rate among Americans ages 10 to 24 increased by 57% between 2007 and 2018, data published Thursday from the National Center for Health Statistics shows. New concerns are mounting that social media could be contributing to the wave of suicides among younger generations. I would tend to think that prescription antidepressants have to share part of the blame. Between 2007 and 2018, the national suicide rate among persons aged 10 to 24 increased by 57.4%. The increase was broad as it was experienced by the majority of states. On a state-by-state basis, the percentage change between 3-year averages of suicide rates for 2007 to 2009 and 2016 to 2018 increased down to 47%. The largest increases were seen in New Hampshire, Oregon, Georgia, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Michigan. 42 states had significant increases in their suicide rates between 2007, 2009, and 2016 and 2018. 8 states had non-significant increases. Okay, a little bit of a whoopsie over at Customs. The U.S. Customs confiscated 2,000 pieces of equipment they deemed to be counterfeit Apple AirPods. And it turns out they're actually an AirPod made by OnePlus and a perfectly legitimate product. They're not counterfeit anything. A little bit of a whoopsie there. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and the lines are open right now, so get ready to call on in. All righty. At a time when use of open source platforms are on the rise, researchers at Kaspersky have warned that sophisticated hackers and crooks are increasingly targeting Linux-based devices, using tools specifically designed to exploit vulnerabilities in the platform. While Windows tends to be more frequently targeted in mass malware attacks, this is not always the case when it comes to advanced persistent threats in which an intruder, often a nation state or state-sponsored group, establishes a long-term presence on a network. Okay, we're going to take another break here for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words. Join us on the air.
Hear ye, ConstitutionOnTrial.com presents the most important question for our generation. Is the United States Constitution biblical? Witness the prosecution and defense of the United States Constitution on trial, live and unscripted at the Maranatha Retreat Center in Everton, Missouri, and streamed live on YouTube. For the prosecution, Ted Weiland, pastor, Bible teacher, and author of Bible Law versus the United States Constitution, The Christian Perspective. Versus for the defense, Brent Allen Winters, a practicing lawyer and author of Excellence of Common Law in Light of History, Nature, and Scripture. Is the United States Constitution biblical? Live and unscripted at the Maranatha Retreat Center in Everton, Missouri, and live streamed on YouTube. Saturday, September 19th from 6:30 till 9:30 p.m. Come one, come all. This most important event is free to attend and streamed live on YouTube. Go to ConstitutionOnTrial.com.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here. And again, the usual reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is in the middle of a fundraiser. And as you witnessed earlier in the program here, we're running the operation on spit and baling wire. And we do need to upgrade and replace our equipment here. We have a hamster-powered mixer and a steam-powered transmitter. So it's time that we moved into the 21st century with some of that equipment. So if you can help us out, and you have our gratitude if you can, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And let's get some calls in here, especially if anybody knows about that Freedom Rally in Austin on October 3rd. We need some information about that. Getting on back to miscellaneous science and tech news here. The Google geofence warrants keep locking up innocent people who were in proximity to a crime scene. Now, what this is, the police have what's called a geofence warrant, and it's a virtual dragnet over crime scenes where police sweep up Google location data drawn from the user's GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular connections from everybody who happens to be near a crime scene. And from this blanket of surveillance, law enforcement then try and figure out which phones may be tied to suspects or possible witnesses. They have nabbed the wrong people. 2018, a man was falsely accused and arrested based on a controversial geofence warrant for the crime of murder. And it turned out he was just coincidentally there. So this type of blanket surveillance warrant, which works as a kind of guilt by proximity at the time a crime occurred, has been used by police to arrest what turned out to be innocent bystanders who were suddenly surprised to find themselves prime suspects. It's perhaps been used only dozens of times in some states, but it will only increase alongside similar pre-crime algorithm technologies. In one instance earlier this year, a Gainesville, Florida man was caught up in a legal nightmare because he merely rode his bicycle unbeknownst near a home burglary around the time that it happened. Okay. U.S. congressmen are pushing a bipartisan digital ID package, and this is Congress attempting to deal with all the fraud and identity theft that's taking place on the internet, and it really is completely, totally out of control. So days after a U.S. Labor Department administrator told ID Tech executives Washington is losing billions of dollars to online crime, a pair of federal lawmakers introduced legislation to modernize the nation's digital ID infrastructure. The Improving Digital Identity Act of 2020 is being sponsored by 4 congressmen: Illinois Democrat Bill Foster, Rhode Island Democrat Jim Langevin, Georgia Republican Barry Loudermilk, and New York Republican John Katko. Last week, the administrator of Labor's Unemployment Insurance Office spoke to attendees during a federal ID Online conference, saying fraudulent new jobless claims are rampant because digital IDs are unavailable. Something has to be done. All right, we're going to take a phone call now. Mark in Nova Scotia. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Mike? I'd just like to thank you for all the hard work that you do on your website and your radio show. I've been following you for years, and I just love your information, and I think you're bang on 99% of the time.
Well, thank you.
I've got a question for you, sir.
Yes.
I was wondering if you're aware of the MIT drug Draco, an
No, I'm not.
antiviral drug.
No, I'm not.
Maybe you should give it a look. It's showing great promise with the COVID-19, and it seems to be effective against all viruses it's been tested against, and they couldn't receive any funding. So I just thought maybe it's worth a look, and maybe you could put it on your website, bring some attention to it.
This is called Draco, and it's been developed at MIT?
Yes. They I think it was early 2009, 10 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like going underneath the radar. And I thought, like if you brought that to the attention, do a little research yourself, and I think that
I'll take a
shows
look
great
for it.
promise.
Yes.
All right, and that's all. I'd just like to thank you for doing all the hard work that you do.
Okay. All right. Well,
Show's
thank you very
awesome.
much. Thank you very much for the kind words. We're going to let you go. And pardon me, I'm going to leave the next phone call until after this coming commercial break. And between now and the commercial break, story here from space. 3 huge asteroids are headed toward Earth after amateur astronomers spots massive space rock our planetary defenses missed. And scientists are getting better at spotting these inbound potentially hazardous asteroids. 3 more measuring over 15 meters in diameter on the way just this week. Okay. However, asteroid hunters missed a 1,000-meter space rock just last month. And none of these are expected to hit the Earth. But the Earth is under near constant threat from space debris in the form of asteroids and meteorites. This week is no exception, with 2 smaller space rocks due to buzz the planet today and tomorrow. Okay, we got to take rendered lips. Got to take another break here for a commercial. Back with a phone call after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, this is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. women and children alike.
Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're going to take a call from Tom in Florida. Hi, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yes, Michael. Good day to you. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Yeah, Mike, what's on my mind is, first off, I was looking at a few reports. I heard they tore a Jesus statue down, I think it was in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they tore a couple more statues of religious statues down in California. So now this stuff is getting out of control as far as now they're really going after the religious aspect of this BLM and Antifa and all that. So now they're taking the Christian monuments down, beheading them and all that. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But, Mike, here in South Florida now, they're talking about, this guy, Matt Drudge, the sludge report. Well, I don't know if people your listening audience knows this, but this guy is a big time. He's a donor like Shepard Smith and Anderson Cooper and all that. He's a big flamer, and Drudge now he's bleached his hair blonde, and they say now he had to give one of his lovers a house here not far from where I'm actually at. He gave the guy the house. The house is worth like $850,000.
Okay, Tom, can you put the microphone closer to your mouth? You're getting muffled.
Can you hear me?
Much better now. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Mike. So this guy Matt Sludge, who turned on Trump in the 2016 election, he was actually kind of for Trump, and now he's turned on him. He's wanting Biden and the leftist agenda. But this guy's really a flamer. I didn't realize what a flaming imbecile Matt Drudge is and how filthy rich he got. He owned like 4 homes here in South Florida, and he's very well off. The guy's got, I seen him drive his Corvette a couple years back. He has a really nice Corvette. And he's dyed his hair blonde, so they're reporting that in the paper down here about he had to give his lover an $850,000 home. And he got the house on, Mike. He got quick claim deeded it for like $10.
Yes.
The guy that was living with him, he paid $10 to get the house for Matt Drudge, like $850,000 home on a quick claim deed. And he gave him all the appliances and furniture and all that stuff in the house. Everything came with the house. So I kind of found that strange that they actually brought a little story out in the Herald about Matt Drudge.
Well, there was another story about the Drudge report. They got caught in a payola scheme, that they were accepting money to promote certain stories.
Yes, they were. Yes, that's why. Yes, that's correct. He was in a scheme. And this guy here, he's spewing out all this filth out about Trump, but he was kind of supporting him in 2015. I mean, it's all hypocritical. And there again, Mike, it's Zionist. The guy's a Zionist. His middle name is Nathan. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
Nathan Sludge, and big time schmuck, and homosexual. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on and who's controlling our media narrative. They're the minority, but they're controlling our media. They're very powerful in the media. Hollywood, the print, everything, magazines. It's unbelievable. Music industry. It's disgusting. They're a very small minority, and they're very. Mike. Another interesting story. I don't know if you heard about this. Have you heard about the witches trying to put a hoax on Trump? Curse on him?
They did that back in 2016. It didn't work.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it quiet. But I saw in a report now that the witches and all these now they're using all these other the voodoo Haitians and all that to get Trump. I'm like, what the heck is this? We've literally become a third world, Mike.
Yes.
I mean, it's unbelievable the things I'm finding out. And like I told you yesterday, when Sebastian made a great call yesterday, and Sebastian's right on. But this guy that's saying that Trump probably will lose this election is because the Chinese are really getting involved in this election, way more than the Russians ever dreamt of. And I believe that's that point in case that will probably is going to happen. They're going to use a mail-in ballot to steal this election from Trump. He's supposedly losing Arizona right now because of all the illegal aliens in Arizona. You got Mike, Texas is not far from being blue either. Florida, you got Bloomberg down. You got this schmuck Bloomberg, Mike. It's been even in the Herald. I couldn't believe it. The Fort Lauderdale Sentinel. Michael Bloomberg's going to throw $100 million to turn the state of Florida blue for Biden. After he was talking all kinds of crap about Biden and all this, and he's sleepy, and he this guy. I mean, it's just Bloomberg. And Mike, I know you were talking about the story yesterday with Newt Gingrich with this guy Soros. As soon as they mentioned on that Fox News, all those Fox anchors shut their mouths.
Yes. And then they
See how
pulled Newt
complacent the
Gingrich's
media is?
feed.
Yes. You see how complacent this all is? What? You know what, Mike? I would ask you, what would happen if 100,000 listeners for RBN and a lot of these conservative talk shows were to go in Washington, march on Washington, demand that Trump and William Barr arrest George Soros right now? And you had major protests with bullhorns and paper flyers and everything, stickers, whatever. We want Soros and we want all these people arrested for their criminal activity. What would happen if 100,000 men marched on Washington? White men.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think much of anything would happen, but I mean, Soros is definitely in violation of the USA Patriot Act. He's been underwriting violent protests for a very long time with the aim of changing the political structure of the United States, and that's defined as an act of terrorism under the USA Patriot Act.
Well, Mike, you're absolutely right. I'm telling you, if we could, the blacks always can get these million-man marches. Why can't we get a million-man march on white men and white females? The march on Washington, demand Soros' arrest for burning our cities down, for Pelosi, that pig Pelosi, allowing millions of illegals in the state of California and the Democratic Party. They should all be arrested for their filth. And I'll tell you, Mike, you know what's really got me perplexed, Mike, more than anything? I've been watching the History Channel, and I know you do, I'm sure, at times. I was watching Modern Marvels, and I'm looking at all these wonderful inventions, all these fantastic inventions of the technology. And you know, Mike, everybody I see who makes these inventions are white males. They're white Anglo males, but white Northern European men. I don't see no blacks making these inventions in these factories and these machines that put out M&M candy and factories of Detroit. And I'm not being racist here, Mike. I'm just telling the fact. I'm not saying there's not wonderful black inventors. I'm sure there is. But
there are.
I don't see no. Yes, but when I look at rocket science, and I look at all the machines, these factories, these exoskeleton robots they're coming out with robotics. I mean, the Japanese are fantastic at that too. But I mean, it's always on Modern Marvels. It always looks like a bunch of white guys inventing all this stuff. And all we hear is the hatred and the spew and the filthy venom out of these demon rats about white men. And it's got to come to a bitter end. And, I want to get back on something too, Mike. And I'll let you go. I know you got probably another call, but I got to tell you a few more things. As far as Dustin goes, I wanted Dustin to call in your show right now, whatever. And I want to tell him to tell me what happened in 1968 and how come nobody was wearing masks when all these illegal aliens were coming here, Mike, with tuberculosis, which was in the thousands. Why wasn't that a pandemic? That tuberculosis alone out west, in the southwestern United States, with tuberculosis, which is very contagious.
Yes.
Tuberculosis is very contagious. If you go around a person with tuberculosis, you can get it. Is that true, Mike?
Yeah, that's true. It is very contagious. And
like the whooping cough, or whatever. Or what's the other thing you can get? There's
you
something
can
like
get typhus.
I don't know,
Get
I
cholera.
know dogs. A dog. Yes, that's right. Mike, I don't know. Can a dog? I know dogs in a kennel. They have kennel cough. Humans can't get that, can they?
I really don't know. I'm not a veterinarian.
I don't know either. That's something I want to research, because I was hearing something about there's a big outbreak over here in South Florida of kennel cough. These dogs, a lot of dogs are starting to cough and stuff. I don't know. I have to research it. I'm kind of way out there on that one. I don't know. But yeah, Mike, just getting back to watching Modern Marvels really is so perplexing, hearing all these filthy liars talking about whites this, whites that. Well, here we're inventing all the stuff. We got the best food production in the world, I think. We used to. I don't know about now. Maybe the Russians are taking over, Chinese. We used to be the greatest country in the world for producing food.
Yes.
Now it's like, I don't understand what's going on, Mike. But and as far as Dustin goes, I hope he calls in, because in 1968 we had a pandemic with the Hong Kong flu, and they didn't shut the government down, Mike. Nobody was wearing masks. All the kids were going to school. So this is a big ploy by Bill Gates. That's one criminal that needs to be arrested with Soros. Bill Gates, that crook. He's another crook. All these billionaires think they're gods, and they want world depopulation. That's exactly what they want for their families. They don't care about your family. They care about their families. and their offspring. They could care less. And Bill Gates' dad, I remember, Mike, I saw a documentary about his father 5 years ago when he was in Africa, and he was trying to help them out with the water desalinization in Africa for clean drinking water.
Yes.
But, I'm saying to myself, that's fine. That's great that he's doing that, Gates. But what about Flint, Michigan and Mr. Gates? Old man Gates, what about Flint, Michigan when all the kids are dying in Flint, Michigan in the United States of America from the drinking water? Why did you spend $1 billion for that? Spend $10 billion in Africa, Gates. Why didn't you spend it here in the United States? You got more white people living in trailer mobile homes than any other ethnic group in this country, Mike. Check it out. More people live in mobile homes in the United States of America that are white than any other culture. Why are we allowing the illegal aliens to get better health care and Section 8 housing? We got a million white people live in mobile homes because they can't afford to live in a house. They have to live in trailers. Is that true?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Oh,
But, that could be a function of the fact that whites are still the majority population of the country as a whole. So if you assume a certain fixed percentage for all ethnic groups are living in trailers, then inevitably you're going to have more whites than anybody else.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, Mike, I'll tell you pretty soon, we're going to have to do like France is probably going to have to implement. You're going to have to start paying these white women to have white babies. I'm telling you, that's coming down the road. In the next 20 years, you'll have to start paying these women $40,000, $50,000 to have a child. Otherwise, we're going to be bred right out of existence. No doubt about that. But in the meantime, you got these billionaires like Gates and Soros and all these other schmucks like that Snyder and all that talking how bad white he is. A white man's this, white. I mean, give me a break. So we get one of these major networks, our country's doomed. We need ABC, NBC, or CBS. I prefer to us to get ABC.
Mm-hmm.
CBS is always going to be communist broadcasting system. ABC maybe could change that to learn your ABCs, like ABC Soup, and most of these kids are so darn dumb in these colleges, they don't even know nothing about our history or anything, Mike. Like I said yesterday, it's pathetic how crazy these kids are. When Jesse Waters does Waters World, he goes to these college campuses. These kids, I'm like, I don't even know how they got out of high school, let alone going to a college degree. They don't know nothing about nothing, it seems like. It's insanity, the stupidity of what's going on in our country. But yeah, Mike, watching Modern Marvels is just, it's unbelievable how the great inventions that the Northern Europeans have brought to this country and how we're being treated. It's not right, man. It's wrong. It's terribly wrong. And this you got these schmucks like Matt Sludge and all this filthy elk that are putting out a spew about white people and this and now Trump. I mean, Mike, I want Dustin to call in and tell me how he can think Biden will be better than Trump on anything.
Yeah.
Let's look at immigration.
I mean, I'm disappointed in Trump. I'll be very honest. I worked very hard to keep Hillary out of the White House in 2016, and I was thinking, Trump might do something. He would, clean some of the swamp up. I'm very disappointed in him, but I see Biden and, more importantly, Kamala Harris as definitely worse.
Absolutely, Mike. And Kamala Harris will be running the government along with Ignacio Ocasio-Cortez and all these lady. I mean, come on, man. Mike, people don't see what's going on here. Bumbling Biden doesn't even know where he is half the time. They must be giving him drugs like Trump's right about something. That guy's on something because right now his brains get a little clearer. But I guarantee you when the debates hit, you watch this guy. He's on a teleprompter. Nobody wants to talk about it. His campaign guy can't even tell the truth about the Brett Baer about the teleprompter. This guy's nuts.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe his wife will be running the government in halfway with Camilla. It'll be the second wife of Joe, Sleepy Creepy Joe, and Kamala Harris and her schmuck husband. I mean, this is all a ploy. This is the biggest takeover I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen the corruption like I see it now. I tell you, but I hope Dustin is calling and give me some answers about why weren't people wearing masks for tuberculosis, but the COVID-19 is such a crazy thing. I mean, now I suppose they're going to have a vaccine in 6 weeks. I don't know.
All right. Well, Tom, listen, I'm going to have to let you go. We got the phone lines are loaded up here and we're starting to run out of time. So thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to James in North Carolina. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Good afternoon, Mike. Thank you for taking my call. Yes, first thing I wanted to, number one, it's hard to keep up right behind Tom, man. He brings up a lot of stuff, which is great. And yeah, he's one of my favorite callers. Him, Peter from California, Joe from Tennessee, Mark from North Carolina, and of course, Tom. I was going to let you know my toolbar, you're my homepage. Toolbar has for anyone who's interested. You, and then Blacklisted News, Ewan's Review, Strategic Culture, Pork Brews, and Roast Insider. I recommend people find different sources from different places because, and of course, as far as news, press, TV, things like that,
Mhm,
RT, you
mhm.
find more important things from foreign sources than you ever will here. Anyway, the COVID, as far as that goes, I live out in the middle of nowhere. I've got two small towns on either side of me, and I go to the store around here. No one cares. It's no big deal around here. Some people wear masks. They tell you they have to mandatorily put a mandatory wear a mask thing on their door. I
Mhm.
walk on in. Other people are in there. They don't care. It's no big deal. And also the economy around here has always been very good. There's a lot of industries down here, and it's doing pretty well. And I hate the rest of the place. The country it's been going through a hard time for a very long time anyway.
Yes.
This does not help. But I do see a chart back in March, when all this started. Might have been on Zero Hedge. I don't know where, but it showed a up and down graph, and it showed where the chart would go up and down, increasing and then decreasing every month.
Mhm.
And it would be where more or less you were released to go in public, kind of thing like that. And it lasted until this time of year. It would be smaller spikes whenever you would be not under lockdown, basically. And it lasted all the way into the end of 2021, as they're talking about. And a small spike, like in the middle of the month, you get to go out and do shopping or something like that. And as far as, let's see, I know a guy who works, he's a chemical engineer, scientist, basically. He has
Yeah.
a daughter who works in the ER with the, actually
Yeah.
in the respiratory
James, I'm
unit.
sorry. We're hitting another commercial break here, and I got a bunch of callers waiting on the line, and I apologize for cutting you off, but we're going to have to let you go. Take a break from these commercials and try and jam these last few calls into our last segment.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxysilver through HealthyWorldStore.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Nikki, great product. Have to try it for a few months to see results. After taking Extendovite for about 6 months, I have noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from carpal tunnel. I will continue to buy the product. Ken Peaks, 5 out of 5 stars. Works as advertised. This formula is very powerful. Be careful to follow directions. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure has stabilized and my lower edema has reduced. Lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. Thank you. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today, and we're going to go to the phones to Mo in Florida. Hello, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Mike. I'd like to make a comment about the mask situation. But before that, one of the callers called in, and everybody's talking about Soros. Why hasn't he been arrested? Well, Kushner, little boy Kushner owed money to Soros, and the whole Goldman Sachs. I mean, in my opinion, not my opinion, it's fact. Wilbur Ross, Trump is surrounded by everybody that he borrowed money from. It's the banksters, and that's who run him. And I think he's, they call him the Gambino, the Genoveses, and Soros is the other side of the mob, the tribe. And I think we got two factions fighting it out. I mean, look at Trump was buddy with just about. I mean, it's like they're fighting, two factions. Don't you? I mean, nobody talks about this situation, but all you got to do is look it up. Who did he borrow money from when he went bankrupt? Like how many times?
I think it was like 3 or 4.
Oh, that's nothing, Big, but he was bailed out, and he's surrounded by those same people. Follow the money, Then you look at Soros, and why hasn't he been arrested? Why hasn't Hillary gone to jail? I mean, whatever. I'm done. I'm done with it. I think it's just it's the left-right paradigm, But anyways, Kushner was owed money, borrowed money from Soros. Come on, it's all tied in. Anyways, my comment was about the masks, and I know you're very aware of they don't really work. Like
no, they don't.
Catching it's trying to stop a mosquito with a cyclone fence. I mean, it is, if they ever isolated it. But I was just thinking how ironic this is. You remember the movie Vendetta when the good guys wore the Guy Fawkes masks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, those were the good guys. Look how this is so kind of ironic in a way, how they flipped this thing. It just seems like it. Remember they have them protests in Hong Kong where they wanted freedom, right? Hong Kong was protesting for freedom from China. They were protesting. They wanted freedom, and that kind of stuff. As you know, the banking system was falling apart, and so they wanted to stop the riots. And they just got this COVID hoax, and now they got these people wearing masks that they know they're not working. They know the stats don't support this. I don't know what's wrong with Justin. I don't know if he's, I don't know. The whole thing's a hoax. It's a scam. I'm not saying there's not, flu. I'm not saying there's not flus, but the masks do no good except cause more health problems. Even the CDC now admits it, whatever. It's a joke. So look, but I'm saying just how ironic it is how they reversed it. Now the good guys are wearing masks. And, it's very, very strange. Like you wake up one day, and I had this dream, that worldwide they made everybody start wearing masks about some non-existent disease or just a regular flu, and they shut businesses down, and they brought the world economy to a halt. Can you believe? You'd say, "Wow, what a dream," wouldn't you?
Yes, but it's happening,
and that's what happened the last couple of months. Holy, you know what? All right, Mike, I got callers waiting. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Thanks for the.
Well, actually, the music just started, and we're at the end of the show. And my apologies to those callers who were on hold that I was not able to get to. Please call in tomorrow here. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. It is really important right now that we get through this rough patch, and we'll be back tomorrow with the lovely Lady Claire. Aloha, America.
Yeah.